Okay, so first, poetry is whatever you make it, whatever you make poetry to be. So it could be you writing, there's all different types of poetry. So if you've ever taken a poetry class in high school or in college or just community college, you'll know that in the academic world, there's all of these rules, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, poetry is one of those art forms that allows you to fully express whatever it is you're going to express without really any rules, unless of course you're in academia and you have a professor who insists that you put a comma next to certain words, or you end your brief sentences with periods, or you write prose in complete sentences, or you decide to write a certain type of poetry that doesn't necessarily follow those rules. So my whole thing on that is, one, who makes up these stupid rules? Two, why is there rules? And three, who cares? Like, who cares that you that there's all of these rules around poetry? Here's the thing about being an artist and being someone who likes to be fully self-expressed with words, and that is that you make up the world that you want to live in, and you write whatever it is you want to write in any style that you want to write, without the rules of what the world tells you should abide by. Granted, this has nothing to do with how you should live in a world where there is a lot of rules. So I'm not saying or suggesting that anyone should break any rules. I'm just saying that when it comes to art, and in particular poetry is whatever you make it. I mean, a poem could be one word. You could, decide to write a poetry book and in every page only have one word. And if that's how you're expressing yourself, and if that's how you're writing poetry with just one word, then that's poetry. And so that's why I love the art form, because I encourage anybody who does appreciate the amazing, beautiful words that are out there that have been written by poets, that you're encouraged to know that poetry is anything that you make it, and poetry is something that you can help develop or develop on your own, really. So here's another thing that I learned about, or at least my process. My process is that I rarely read other poets. Why? Because I'm really busy writing my own poetry. I'm busy writing what I feel that I need to be writing for the day. So for those of us who are writers and who write for a living, if you're any good, you have a system or have systems in place where you have this routine where you're constantly writing. If it's writing because you get paid, or you're writing books for other people, or you're ghostwriting, or you are writing because it's just part of the way that you live life, then there's a system. So I hope that you have a system in place when you are writing poetry, because it's really important. So for me, I don't necessarily read other poets, although I have some favorites, and I have some favorite poems that I constantly read, because I just love reading certain words in the way that they were written and by whom they were written by. And I also am very interested in who the poet is. I want to know if the poet who wrote the book is a man or a woman, or struggled during their time of writing this poetry, because there's different poets that write for different reasons. So I write because I'm fascinated by the emotions that are inside of me, and how I perceive the world, and why it is that I am am somebody who completely thinks out of the box and who is not traditional and who is a total maverick when it comes to following rules, especially when it comes to writing and other things and other other areas in my life. I always wondered why I'm not like everybody else in that sense, where I tend to question everything. I question why people have to live a square life when we can live a round life. Or I question why some people do the same thing over and over and over again, and it isn't obvious to them that, you know, if they want to change or if they want to shift something, they can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like I have these like crazy questions in my mind about things like that, which these questions draw me to write about the things that I observe. Okay, so what poetry is for me, that is why I write poetry, because it's all inclusive, right? It's a part of my personality, it's part of the way I live life, it's part of my routine, it's part of how I do life. And it's not something that I do separate from life. It's not something that it's not like I work all day and then at night I sit down and I get my journal and I write. I literally write poetry while I am in the middle of things, because I always make sure that I have something handy to write in. So going to the second thing is, master your art and have tools. This is where I write all my poetry in. I always get like a really generic black spiral, because they're easier to open and they're really easy to write in. And so I have a lot of these, and a lot of times I have like loose papers in them. And I just licked my finger. That's so gross. So I have like these poems that that are in here that are just loose, because I'll write them in another journal, and then I try to keep certain poems for certain topics in separate folders. So have tools and master your art, and know that you have to have a system. So again, my system is I write a poem or two a day, depending on how my life is happening. And a lot of it nowadays has to do with my emotional state and how much I love life, and how amazing life has been for me the last year and a half, and how much I've grown as a human being, and how much love can help you heal, and how much nature can help you heal. And so master your art. If you gravitate towards reading certain poets and certain types of poetry, read those. Like I said, for those of us who write for a living, we don't necessarily read poetry, rewrite it. So, but I do have my favorites. And of course, Mary Oliver, Francisco Alarcón. I could name a list. And for most of the poets that I know, that I have books of, I don't read their entire collections, but I do read some key poems, and I understand their rhythm and why I'm more interested in the poet. Like, who was Mary Oliver, and how did she live her life, and who was Francisco Alarcón? And I actually got to meet him when I was in high school. He really inspired me to publish books, and I knew that it was possible for a Mexican kid from Watsonville who used to pick strawberries, because I saw Francisco Alarcón, who I met at UCSC one time. I was in this leadership program for young leaders, and he was teaching one of the classes at UCSC, and I saw this Mexican guy who had books and who was reading poetry, and I told myself, I want to do that. That's so cool. Initially I thought I'd be a college professor at, I always dreamed of being a college professor at Georgetown University in DC for whatever reason since I was a kid. And then, life happens, and then shifts happen. And so here I am. I write for a living, and poetry at that, which is so cool, totally cool. But anyways, so that's the second thing. And the third thing is make it fun, because life is messy. And when I say life is messy, you're writing a poem and like all this craziness is going on in your life. And that is the best time to write poetry, because you can pretty much write some pretty amazing poetry when life is crazy, because you channel this, you channel this crazy energy into the words, and they drip onto your paper, and that itself is healing. It's an art form, and all art is healing. All the art that we do, whether you paint or whether you dance, which dancing is amazing. I have a friend of mine who I'm helping publish, and she's a dancer, and she's writing her memoir, and she's doing a workbook, and her art form is dance. And like, I just see how healing it is every time she's on stage, or you see how she performs. And it's such a beautiful art form. We all have our thing. So whatever your thing is, whether it's at dance or, an artist doing pastels, or if your art form is acrylic or oils, or in my case, it's poetry, and this beautiful art form of words that sometimes make sense and sometimes don't make sense, because that's how life is. Sometimes it totally makes sense, and sometimes life is crap and it doesn't make any sense, and you wonder why the heck you're even writing. And then after you read a piece, then you realize that that's why you write, because the words needed to come out of you. The words needed to come and embrace the paper, in order for them not to get stuck in your spirit, in order for them not to continue to cut you. And that's how you heal. So whatever your form is, whatever your form of art is, I congratulate you. This is the 3 things that I wanted to share about poetry. One, again, recap. One is, poetry can be anything that you make it. It can even be one word on one page. That's poetry. 2 is master your art, have a system, whether it's, having something like this, or some, I know a lot of women have these really cool, colorful journals, and they write for hours and hours. I'm very practical. Most of my journals are black, and I still write with pencil sometimes, most of the time. And I keep it very simple, because I know that if I sit down at the kitchen table, I am going to write something, and it's going to be badass, and it's going to be amazing, and the words are going to like totally change the world. That's how I think. So, and then 3 is make it fun, because life is messy, and whatever your art form is, make it fun, okay? I want to share one poem with you, and I want to share how I wrote it. And so this poem is on page 51, of course, from the hardcover, because there's 2 versions of this book. There's the hardcover, and then there is the extended version, which has a bunch of other poems that didn't make the first cut. But so this one poem is called, and this is my favorite poem out of all of the poems, because of this reason. Okay, so the poem is called Come Find Me, and I wrote it at the kitchen table. I'm sitting at my kitchen table now, and right in front of me is a window. You can kind of see it in my glasses. If you look in my glasses, you can see it's this huge window with these beautiful trees outside. And so I'm sitting here in the morning while I'm having my breakfast with the kids, and I'm thinking, you know, okay, I have my journal, and of course I'm writing my poetry in the morning, having breakfast with my kids, and I was just thinking about, you know, the special someone, and I thought, so here's the thing. What makes, I think, a really great poem is when you can describe what's going on around you and what's going on inside of you. So this poem expresses what was going on around me and what was going on inside of me. And I think that's what makes it an absolutely badass poem, because not only is this my favorite poem in the book, but also it's like the #1 YouTube song, because all these poems are made into songs. The #1 song / poem on YouTube with like over 10,000 views. And I believe it's because of the words that were used, okay? So let me read it to you real quick, and then I will describe, and then I'll tell you why I think it's badass. So the poem says, come find me behind a book. When you look right inside the morning breeze. And when I was writing this poem, it was in the morning. Come find me at the kitchen table with yellowish golden light bouncing, reflecting, shimmering glass. Come find me with all my protective armor, awaiting to be conquered in battle, completely naked and in love. What? Okay. Come find me inside the hymns of buzzing bees, inside the silence of rocks, whispering to you where the wind knows our song between trees, chattering, conversing and in love, sheltering me while I wait for you. Come find me behind a flower, the kind that sit in my body, the kind that sings with aromas angelic and blue. Come find me in the ripples in the lake without any stones or kids at play. Come find me inside pencil sharpeners, coloring books, and glittery stickers. Come find me where the stars collide and black holes swallow us up, where galaxies are no more, when the end of time is over, when God shows her face right in the middle of her chest. There I will be waiting for you. Come find me. Okay, so this is this beautiful song that everything that I wrote here is true. Like, I was sitting at the kitchen table, and when I was writing this, I saw yellowish golden light bouncing, reflecting in this shimmering glass. Like, it was right there when I was having breakfast, it was right there in the shimmering glass, because the window was shining on this glass, and it was shimmering, right? And it says, come find me with all my protective armor, awaiting to be conquered, completely naked and in love, which is the emotion that I was feeling at the moment. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if I had this person in front of me right now? Wow. And like, you just dig deep as a poet, you dig deep. Although I didn't need to dig that deep, because it's like, I feel it, right? And then I say, come find me inside the hymns of buzzing bees. As I was thinking, I go out in nature a lot, usually in the morning when it's not so hot. And I witness all of this beautiful nature. And I was thinking of the sounds, right? So first I was looking at the shimmering glass, and then I started thinking about the sounds that nature makes. And then I write inside the silence of rocks, because when I'm out in nature, everything is silent inside of me. And there's nothing more silent than a rock, right? And it says, inside the silence of rocks, whispering to you where the wind knows our song. Okay, so between trees chattering. So I do believe in the science showcases this, that trees do communicate and plants communicate, and so that we have a way to measure that now. And so when I was writing this, I was thinking about that. When I'm out in nature and these trees are talking to each other and they're chattering, right? And they're conversing. And then I say conversing and in love, sheltering me while I wait for you. So I've always felt like this when I go out to the park, there's like this, the trees are like these protectors. The trees are like these giants that protect me. And I do feel that way, as cheesy as that sounds like. And so this is what this is about. This is why I wrote this. It says, conversing and in love, sheltering me while I wait for you, confine me behind a flower, the kind that sit in my body. So you could just kind of roll with that, because that's, let's go with that. And then it says the kind that sings with aromas, angelic and blue. So that's where I thought, what does love smell like? You know, I'm smelling something. And in this case, it was, you know, breakfast with the kids, right? But I was thinking love smells like something, and love smells for me like these aromas, angelic and blue. Like I was thinking about the blue sky, and if the sky was to smell like something, it would be very angelic. And I was thinking about this person, and it says, come find me in the ripples in the lake without any stones, because you know, when you ripple in a river, you throw a stone in it and it ripples. But here I'm talking about come find me in the ripples in the lake without any stones. So I'm rippling, and nobody has to throw a stone in the lake for it to ripple. I'm already rippling, okay? And there's no kids at play. Nobody's playing. It's just who I'm being at the moment. You know, this lake that is rippling without any interaction. Like I don't need to crash into anyone or interact with anyone in order to feel what I'm feeling. Like I'm feeling love. And so I love this piece. Come find me in the ripples in the lake without any stones or kids at play. And then it goes on and it says, come find me inside pencil sharpeners, coloring books, and glittery stickers. Because when I was writing this poem, and after I was done with breakfast, I didn't finish it. So I go upstairs, and my kids, I have my little guy who's 7 years old, who's in the room with me doing all his arts and crafts. And so he's got like these arts and crafts where he's got stickers and like glitter stuff, and he's cutting out these paper airplanes and all this stuff the kids do, right, which I love. And so the room is like a mess. And then because I write, and I still write in pencil, I have this really badass like pencil sharpener that you just stick in there, and it's like this machine that like makes all this cool noise. And so when I went upstairs and I wanted to finish the poem, because I'm like writing the last riffs, the last couple of like little segments of it. And then I like look around the room and I'm watching my son, and then I'm thinking, well, come find me inside pencil sharpeners, coloring books, and glittery stickers, because that's exactly where I was at. That's exactly what I was doing. Like I was in the room with my kids. Well, I have a 17-year-old and he's in a different room, but that's what I was witnessing. And that right there, that's poetry. Like that is how poets write. That's how we convey, or at least the poets that I know and the poets that I read. We look at what's around us and what is inside of us. And then so we put the words together, and it may not make sense to you, but it makes sense to us. And that's all that matters, that the poems that you write make sense to you. So if you listen to this song, like go on YouTube and listen to this song, it is the most beautiful song. Now, granted, I'm a jazz girl. I love jazz. When I was in college, I was in the jazz choir, and I love playing the piano, the little I know of it, and I take piano lessons, and so I'm all things jazz and blues. So this song was arranged with a jazz feel. And there's this part in the song where she says, you know, come find me inside pencil sharpeners, coloring books, and glittery stickers. Like, it's badass. So, and then the other section is come find me where the stars collide. So I wrote this at the end, like my son's already asleep and I want to finish this poem because I'm trying to finish the poem on a daily basis, right? I'm trying to finish this book because this is a book that I wanted to finish by a certain time. And so I wait for him to go to sleep, and then I know that I'm going to finish this particular poem. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, but I'm going to finish it. And so then I write at the end, come find me where the stars collide and black holes swallow us up. When galaxies are no more, when the end of time is over, when God shows her face right in the middle of her chest, there, I will be waiting for you to come find me. And that's how I end the poem, because my son was already asleep and I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at this black sky with all of these stars and just thinking how blessed I am to be able to witness the celestial beauty, you know, like, so that's why I wrote this, because I was in it. I was in this sky and I was thinking, you know, come find me when God shows her face right in the middle of her chest. And I'm really talking about me, right? There I will be, come find me. So this, my friends, is my favorite poem out of this book, this hard work. And I hope that you love it too. I hope that you got something out of these three ideas, tips, whatever you want to call them. And I hope that you have your art form, whatever that may be. And check out the songs. You just go to this QR code right here. I'll put it on the screen. Just go to the QR code right there, and then it'll take you to the playlist, and check out this song of my favorite poem out of this book. And comment below. Let me know if this was helpful, if this was fun. Would love to hear your comments. I do try to respond to every comment, so would love to hear from you. If you're a poet too, let me know. If you have work, if you have books, let me know. Check out my channel. I have a lot of different types of content, and I hope to hear from you. Thanks.
Won't find me behind a book when you look right inside the morning breeze. Come find me at the kitchen table with yellowish golden light bouncing, reflecting, shimmering glass. Come find me with all my protected armor awaiting to be conquered, battle completely, naked and in love. Come find me inside the hymns of buzzing bees, inside the silence of rocks, whispering to you where the wind knows our song, between trees chattering, conversing, and in love, sheltering me while I wait for you. Come find me behind the flower, the kind that sit in my body, the kind that sings with aromas angelic and blue. Come find me in the ripples in the lake, without any stones or kids at play. Come find me inside pencil sharpness, coloring books and glittery stickers. Come find me when the stars collide and black holes swallow us up, and galaxies are no more, when the end of time is God shows her face right in the middle of her chest. There I will be waiting for you to come find me when the stars collide and black holes swallow us up and galaxies are no more. When the end of time is over, God shows her face right in the middle of her chest. There I'll be waiting for you to come find me. Come find me when the stars collide and black holes swallow us up and galaxies are no more. When the end of time is over, God shows her face right in the middle of her chest. There I'll be waiting for you to come find me. Won't find me behind a book when you look right inside the morning breeze. Come find me at